The sun was beginning to set, casting an orange glow across the endless expanse of trees. The air was thick with humidity, and the distant cries of unknown creatures echoed through the dense forest. Michael's legs ached, his clothes were damp with sweat, and his heart pounded in his chest. Every step he took was a struggle, but stopping wasn't an option. He had lost track of time, wandering in circles for what felt like days. The deeper he ventured, the more disoriented he became. The towering trees loomed above him like silent observers, their twisted branches casting eerie shadows across the forest floor. The nightmare began when his small plane had crashed during a routine flight. The wreckage was now miles behind him, swallowed by the unforgiving wilderness. Miraculously, he had survived with only a few scrapes and bruises. His radio was destroyed, and the GPS was nothing more than a shattered piece of plastic. With no way to call for help, Michael's only hope was to keep moving and find a way out. The first night was the worst. The darkness was impenetrable, and the chilling sounds of the forest kept him on edge. Sleep was nearly impossible. Every rustle in the underbrush felt like the approach of some unseen predator. He built a small fire using twigs and dry leaves, the flickering flames offering a fleeting sense of security. But the night dragged on, and the distant howls of animals reminded him of how truly alone he was. Days passed, and the forest seemed to close in tighter. His attempts to follow the sun or track landmarks were futile. The dense canopy above blocked most of the sky, leaving him in a perpetual twilight. Hunger gnawed at him. His last granola bar devoured quickly. Foraging became his only option. He gathered berries and edible plants, though the constant fear of poisoning himself lingered. Water was easier to find, with small streams weaving through the terrain. He drank cautiously, knowing the dangers of contaminated water, but dehydration left him no choice. Despite the exhaustion, Michael pushed forward. Each day brought new challenges. Thorny vines clawed at his arms, and the uneven ground threatened to twist his ankles. He stumbled across the remnants of an animal carcass, the bones picked clean. It was a grim reminder of what could await him. Still, he held on to the hope that rescue teams were searching, scouring the area for any sign of him. The mornings were shrouded in mist, making the air heavy and cool. Michael learned to read the subtle changes in the forest. The songs of birds, the rustling of leaves, and the occasional distant howl gave him insight into his surroundings. He fashioned a spear from a sturdy branch, sharpening the end with a jack stone. Though he was no hunter, the simple weapon provided a sliver of confidence. The idea of confronting a predator was terrifying, but he knew he had to be prepared.
On the fourth day, he came across a cluster of wild mushrooms, recognizing some from survival guides. He cautiously cooked and ate them over a small fire. The meager meal provided temporary relief from his gnawing hunger. With renewed determination, he trudged onward, tracing his steps with careful marks on trees to avoid getting lost again. The rain came suddenly. Thick drops pounded against the leaves, soaking him within minutes. The once dry forest floor turned to slippery mud, making each step treacherous. Lightning flashed, illuminating the darkened woods, followed by the deafening roar of thunder. Michael sought shelter beneath the twisted roots of an ancient tree, curling up tightly as the storm raged. The crack of branches in the distance sent a chill through him. He could only hope whatever roamed nearby would stay away. When the storm finally passed, Michael emerged, his body stiff and shivering. The air smelled of damp earth, and the ground was littered with fallen branches. Determined to keep moving, he followed a small stream, knowing it would eventually lead to a larger body of water. Along the way, he encountered tracks in the mud, large paw prints, too fresh to be ignored. Fear gnawed at him, but he pressed on, scanning the shadows for any sign of movement. The days blurred together. Sleep came in brief, restless intervals. Michael's body grew weaker, his mind clouded with fatigue. Yet, the thought of survival pushed him forward. The sun became his guide when the trees allowed its light to break through. He fashioned a crude walking stick to ease the strain on his injured ankle, every step a reminder of the fall that had slowed him down. On the seventh day, he stumbled upon a small cave. Cautiously peering inside, he found it empty, save for scattered bones and the faint scent of damp stone. It provided shelter for the night, shielding him from the biting wind. The stars twinkled above, a reminder that the world beyond the forest still existed. He whispered to himself, a desperate reassurance that he would see it again. It was the distant sound of rushing water that renewed his hope. Following the sound, he emerged from the thicket to find a wide river, its clear waters shimmering in the sunlight. Relief flooded through him, but as he knelt to drink, the low growl of a predator rumbled from behind. A large black bear emerged from the shadows, its dark eyes fixed on him. Panic surged through Michael, but he remembered the survival tips he had once read. Slowly, he raised his arms, making himself appear larger. He spoke in a firm, steady voice, avoiding eye contact but never turning his back. The bear snorted, pawing at the ground. After what felt like an eternity, it retreated into the trees. Michael collapsed to his knees, his body trembling with adrenaline.
With the river as his guide, he continued downstream. The terrain gradually opened and the oppressive trees thinned. On the horizon, he glimpsed the unmistakable sight of smoke rising into the sky. Civilization. Tears welled in his eyes as he forced his weary body to move faster. Hours later, he stumbled onto a dirt road where a group of hikers found him, their faces etched with concern. Michael's ordeal had come to an end. Though his body was battered and his spirit tested, he had survived. The forest, with all its terrors and trials, had failed to break him. As the rescue team escorted him away, he looked back one last time at the endless green expanse. The memories of the forest would forever remain with him, a testament to the resilience that had carried him through the darkest days of his life.